Mercedes haven't been able to perform to their liking in 2022. Although they've come close to winning a Grand Prix a couple of times, they aren't quite up to pace. To change this, they're radically investing into the development of next year's Challenger, and the proposed changes to Mercedes W14 DNA in 2023 will be much more than the sidepods. Do you think Mercedes will be back at the front of the grid in 2023? Let us know in the comments below. So, throughout the 2022 Formula 1 season, it's become increasingly obvious that Mercedes' approach to the competition's new rules has failed. Mercedes, which has won 8 consecutive Constructors' Championships, may be experiencing its first losing season since 2011. While its main competitor for the 2021 season, Red Bull, has won 16 out of the 20 races. In the first few races of the season, the team's W13 was plagued by porpoising issues, which prevented Mercedes from recognizing the true issues with its 2022 concept. Mercedes has continuously improved the W13 with new updates, the latest of which being a new front wing that was unveiled at the Mexican Grand Prix last weekend after modifications to make it legal. The team believes it's still suffering from a mistake that dates back to the end of last year, but that it was only able to pinpoint during its post-race analysis of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in June, despite the fact that it's only scored 10 points less than Ferrari in the second half of the year. Therefore, it's not surprising that there have been signs of concept changes for Mercedes for the next year. But that might entail much more than a change of direction from the original zero sidepod design. I think the DNA of the car is going to change for next year, that's clear, Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff said. I don't necessarily mean that the bodywork is going to look very different, but certainly what is part of the DNA of the car will change for next year. This might be a significant modification that affects the suspension and underfloor of the car rather than just the sidepod concept. Mercedes' primary issue in 2022 has been with its rear suspension setup, which prohibits the team from operating the W13 at the ideal ride height, without the bouncing issues that earlier in the season gave its drivers back and chest difficulties. Mercedes made its decision for 2023 in the hopes of regaining its place in the title race and catching up to Red Bull and Ferrari, which dethroned it this year. I think we found a path we believe in and a path we can move along and get better, Technical Director Mike Elliott said. F1 is a learning game. You never know all the answers, and what we've been trying to do is make sure there's nothing we're missing. Keep digging, see if it's something else we need to find. You've got to look and say, we've got 2 fantastic competitors, a lot of good competitors, but 2 very strong ones in Ferrari and Red Bull. We need to go into the winter and do a good job, and that's the only way we'll get on par with them and hopefully beat them. Next year's car will look different. I'm not going to say why, but it will look different. Some of the improvements Mercedes made to the W13 will no longer be relevant for its 2023 design. Not only due to the possibility of a revised concept for the following year, but also because of new floor restrictions that alter the aerodynamic requirements and necessitate a different approach. Mercedes, however, acknowledges that a complete concept change in the middle of the season in the cost cap era is just not feasible, and is still in the phase of trying to learn from every improvement it makes. Wholesale modifications to car concepts may have been conceivable in the past for teams, but Mercedes was forced to wait until 2023 for a significant change due to the new aerodynamic testing allowances constraints and the cost cap, which will be further reduced next year. It at least benefited from a larger ATA in the second half of 2022 after the percentages were adjusted in the middle of the season, where Mercedes, like it is presently, was third in the Constructors' Championship behind Ferrari and Red Bull. Mercedes hopes to close a 10-month gap with our main competitors with this advantage, although it is unclear whether the strategy it has selected would be successful. According to Logic and a look back at the divergence in the year following big F1 rule changes, Mercedes will bring its car concept closer to the team with the greatest solution to F1's new restrictions, Red Bull, but we won't know for sure until the car hits the track in Bahrain in February. It will be fascinating to see what Mercedes have in mind to regain the top position. We can be fairly certain that the sidepod will come back and will probably look a lot like the one Red Bull is sporting right now. Although the new sidepods might help Mercedes a lot, they must not forget that Red Bull can thank their incredible performance mostly to their new floor and bodywork. So Mercedes will also have to make some big changes in their floor to see the same kind of performance next year. What are your expectations for Mercedes in the upcoming year? Will they regain a spot at the front of the grid? Or will they still fall a little behind the front runners Red Bull and Ferrari? We're curious to know your take on it, so please comment below the video. Fortunately for Mercedes, they will still be able to put 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton in their car for years to come, as the Brit seems unlikely to stop driving anytime soon. Lewis Hamilton is aiming for a new multi-year contract with Mercedes that could keep him competing through the 2025 campaign. The British driver's current Mercedes deal expires at the end of 2023, and many believe that this could be his final Formula 1 season. Hamilton's decision to leave the sport may have been influenced by the controversial 2021 season finale and the subpar performance of the Mercedes W14 this season. The 7-time world champion did, however, declare that he now intends to stay in the sport and sign a new contract during the Mexican Grand Prix weekend. "I've not put a limit on it, to be honest," Hamilton told media. "I'm planning to do a multi-year deal with the team. I really don't know what the next 5 years. I think we're still trying to work on that. There are a lot of great things that are being put in place, like I just launched a production company this week. But I feel great in my mind and body." In the past, Hamilton has downplayed the likelihood that he will continue to race in Formula 1 into his 40s, like fellow world champions Kimi Raikkonen and Fernando Alonso. The British athlete mentioned his numerous endeavours and charitable activities, together with his passion to compete, as solid reasons for sticking with the sport. "It's been lingering around, this whole narrative of me winding towards the end of my career. I'm sure for all of you in your careers and your jobs, you probably have to analyse what's next," Hamilton said. "Is there somewhere else you want to go? Is there somewhere higher you want to be? Is there room for growth in that role? I think that was perhaps something for me to consider. I think I'm just in a happy place in my life, a lot more grounded. I've got my home that I get to spend time in the UK, when I come to see the team, for example, and the family come down. So it's just a lot better set up all round, and I feel like I can take the team to more championships." Will Lewis be able to take more championships for Mercedes between 2023 and 2025? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't spin into the subscribe and like button to support the channel. We'll see you in the next video.